Hollywood does something to child stars, something sinister, something dirty, and something hidden. It hides behind the friendly faces of happiness displayed on our TV screens. One of these faces is that of China Anne McClain, once a Disney star, now an internet evangelist. Something about the experience of being a child star in Hollywood stays with these children for the rest of their lives. You know what else stays with them? Oodles and oodles of money. China may hate the industry that made her what she is, but there's no doubt that it set her up to live the way she does today. Let's see just how different that life is from ours. Remember to subscribe and click the notification bell to keep more Black Hollywood stories like this one coming. Now let's get to the good part. Let's clear something else up before we get started. No, China is not dead. There seems to have been a slew of false articles claiming that the star had met her demise in a motorcycle accident. She's alive, and we're all glad it was a lie. China was born into the industry. Her parents were already in the music industry and getting ready to train and push their children into that world too. At the age of 5, her parents put her and her 2 sisters in a singing group as the 3 McClain girls. At the age of 7, her parents had her audition for the film The Gospel, which became her first ever appearance on the Hollywood screen. If you know anything about Black Hollywood, it's that we like to sing. The 2000s was a time when gospel movies about African American churches began to gain a lot of popularity. An insanely talented 7-year-old girl was always going to win the love of the crowd. She went on to star in Tyler Perry's House of Pain and Grown-Ups. But China's big break was when she got her own Disney show. When I look into how much wealth she's amassed, you should know that Disney is the main reason she has all that. It ran on the Disney Channel for 3 years, and along the way, she got to display her fantastic singing, mesmerizingly charming acting, and not-so-great dancing. She tried. After that shoe ended, she took up more Disney work in the Descendants series and a couple of other shows. And yes, I do mean work. For as much as we want to see child stars as innocent children following their talents and being pushed by the industry to just off and grow as artists, acting and singing and dancing horribly are still jobs. She was a paid actress who started working at the age of 7. Now that we know how she was bringing home the bacon, let's see just how much bacon that was. China's net worth, according to Equity Atlas, is around $2 million. China lives between Los Angeles and Atlanta. People seem to believe that she lives in a $1 million mansion in LA, but a Wall Street Journal article on the actress confirms that the mansion actually costs $6 million. It has all the things a mansion should have, whatever that means. A large and lavish living room, pool, and fancy big kitchen. China restored the home from its older interior design to something more in touch with modern tastes and sensibilities. The early 2000s cheaper version of 1800s Victorian style was starting to look a bit tacky even at the time she bought the home. Usually, big stars like China don't do the home design themselves. They hire people for that so they have time to keep up with their own busy lives. It's not very likely that she picked it all out for herself. What we can say is that her stylist knows what it's all about. A comfortable and private modern home is the perfect fit for someone like China. It includes a studio and spa, of course. And just like every Hollywood star home in Hollywood, a library stuffed with books she will probably never read. There's a lot to get out of the way when discussing China's life. We have to be realistic, y'all. China's not driving herself around in a Ford EcoSport, but she does have one. A Ford EcoSport is probably not something one would associate with a 25-year-old Hollywood prodigy, but this was China's choice. If I had to guess, it probably has something to do with how inconspicuous it is. No one is going to check who's at the wheel of what can basically be described as a mommy van. It's smooth driving, doesn't draw attention to itself, and gets you where you need to go with a fair level of comfort. This car usually costs less than $30,000 depending on the model. I understand that China is trying to keep a low profile since she's such a big star. But the more I look at this car, the less sense it makes. She's the only person who could possibly explain that. She also owns a 2023 Cadillac Escalade. This is likely the car she gets around work with most of the time. It's spacious with plenty of seats and legroom and built particularly for someone who would prefer to be driven around to where they need to go. The average price goes for around $83,000, and because it's a Cadillac-branded car, it's considered to be a luxury vehicle. She also owns a Mercedes-Benz W124. I am becoming more convinced over time that China does not, in fact, choose her own cars. This is a 1984 to 1997 Mercedes model that has long since been surpassed by better models that have come after it. Lastly, she owns a 2014 Kia Cadenza. It's a sleek, practical, and common car for most middle-class people. Her main mode of transport to and from her acting jobs and to appearances she has to make is probably a driver. Most actors, once they reach a certain level of stardom, prefer to have a driver and security around them for additional safety. It's just easier than having to take care of themselves, especially now that China is still making appearances in Disney films like Descendants, The Rise of Red and Black Lightning. She needs to stay on schedule and stay safe. The easiest way to do that is to have someone else do it for you. But it is fairly amusing to think that when you're driving around surrounded by mom cars of parents picking their children up from preschool, one of them could be China Anne McClain. China is a fairly private person when it comes to the inner workings of her life. When China had their series ANT Farm, she had a short-lived relationship with a fellow cast member. Jake Short played China's best friend Fletcher, and it seems their friendship was just as true off the screen as it was on the screen. However, they were both really young at the time and eventually grew apart. She has two friends, Sierra McCormick and Stephanie Scott. Both of them are co-stars from her show, but she treats them as her friends and they share a close relationship. People believed that she was friends with Zendaya, but China responded by stating that she sees Zendaya as more of a mentor than a friend, despite the fact that they are only 2 years apart and both similarly grew up as Disney stars. There were also rumors that she dated her co-star Cameron Boyce, but this has not been confirmed. The first project they worked on together was Descendants, a musical fantasy in which China and Cameron both play kids from the wrong side of the fantasy world. After that, they quickly became best friends, as they both grew up on the Disney Channel and spent a lot of time working together. They became quick friends off-screen and shared a special bond of friendship in which they supported each other throughout their lives and careers. Their friendship was also a pretty big draw for the marketing of Disney movies they participated in together. This friendship continued long after the Disney shows and movies ended. However, Cameron passed away in July of 2019 from an epilepsy attack. After this event, China redirected the course of her life and began to focus on different things. In an Instagram post addressing the situation, she broke down into tears after saying, and realizing for herself in that moment, that she would never have a friend like him again. Her mother denies that the death of Cameron was an influence on China's sudden change in life motivation and direction in her career. China starred in the series Black Lightning and some other television films as part of a marketing strategy to transition her out of the child star persona. She wanted to take up more serious and important roles that would reinvent her public image to one more in line with her age, maturity, and talent as an actor. She began posting more about God and the relationship she has with Him. She cut her hair because she believed she was using it as a shield or sign of her beauty, and she wanted to let that go and feel free. She also began criticizing the entertainment industry, speaking vaguely about how immoral it was and how it was bad for her life. She decided to drop out of Black Lightning during the pandemic and stated that she is now being directed to do religious work. However, despite her distaste for the industry, China continues to collect royalties from the shows she did while she was in the industry, and still has projects coming out that may have been shot earlier but are nonetheless credited to the year 2023, which means she continues to work in the industry after claiming that she was leaving to do the work of God. She is still employed to continue working on Tyler Perry's House of Pain, and is credited under the 2024 film Descendants: The Rise of the Red. In an Instagram Live, she addressed this by saying, "I think everybody just assumed that I was done with film and TV, and I never said that." A lot of fans were confused by this because China had claimed in previous years that she was being called to do religious work, and religious work only. But understandably, the woman has to pay the bills somehow, and the industry is still her passion. Even though she is critical of it, she's free to interact with it in any way she wants. Click on this next video to watch more Black Hollywood insider stories like this one. What do you think about China's new outlook on life?